This client purchased artwork for their partner and themselves, and they're not quite sure if it's AI generated. So let's take a look at this whole situation. This is a post in the subreddit r/is this AI, and it reads, "Paid an artist I found on Instagram for this gift. Friend says it looks like AI. Artist also unable to change skin tone when requested." So for extra context, it reads, "My boyfriend and I have our anniversary coming up and I commissioned this drawing from an artist I found on Instagram. I sent photos of us. My boyfriend is very indigenous Mexican looking, and the artist sent me a draft, and my boyfriend has very fair and white skin and light brown hair." The second image. "I asked if they would be able to adjust his skin tone and features a bit, but they told me they couldn't adjust the color because they already completed the artwork, but could make some small adjustments." The first image. "I was a little disappointed and found the original color choice strange considering the photos of him I sent. I was talking with my friend about it and showed them the drawings, and they said it looks like it's AI and that's probably why they can't adjust. They did send me the very last image prior to the completed drawing, which looks like there was a drawing before." So let us take a look. This is the very first image that the client had received, where you can see the character on the right, they are quite fair. And then as you can see over here, this is the adjusted version. This already is very suspicious because, okay, if you're an artist that drew something for a commission, etc., it's super likely you worked in multiple layers. And so if something needs adjustment, as in the skin tone is kind of wrong, the hair color is a little bit off, whatever, that you can just go to the skin tone layer and then paint bucket fill a multiply layer to like darken the skin tone a little bit and then adjust the shadows and highlights so the color complements the new skin tone, and then poof, you're done. But when an artist is unable to change the skin tone color or anything else that would basically require a really simple modification of one of the layers, it's always really suspicious. And again, there can be a fringe case where like their, I don't know, PC or iPad crashed and they lost access to the working file. But in this case, there was no mention of that. It wasn't like a freak accident that caused them to lose access. The artist was like, nope, can't do it because the artwork is done. And that's always a red flag. I feel like one thing that's also interesting to note when you take a look at the skin tone correction is the fact that like everything is darker. The hair was darker, the eyes were darker, the whites of the eyes were also made darker. It's kind of as if they, I don't know, made like a multiply layer on top of literally every aspect of this character except the clothing, which is again, I feel like a little bit odd, but maybe that was requested. Maybe they also wanted the eyes darker. And this was the very first sketch that was sent over. So what do you think? Is it AI? Is it not AI generated? But most definitely a big red flag is the inability to make any alterations whatsoever to the work. The top comment says, "If the artist can't make any real edits, it's definitely AI." And another person says, "It's either AI or a pit crew they stole. Pit crew so often only has white skin tones and people are constantly selling pit crews and trace pit crews as commissions." Which if you guys don't know, it's kind of like a paper doll where there's like people can make bases, then you can like customize on top of the base. Another person says, "You can make edits to an image like this even if it's AI. So the person is just lazy AF or completely clueless." Another person says, "It's AI and unable to make edits is a huge tell." OP actually reposted this and a comment says, "I'm so sorry you got scammed when you did something so sweet and thoughtful. Your heart truly was in the right place. That 100% is AI. A major tell is the wonky irises. Also, smooth line art with very muddy eye highlights is very AI. Not only that, but the highlights are also on the right side for the left person, but on the left for the bloke on the right, despite the cell shading indicating the lighting should be coming from the right." And another person adds, "Some legitimate artists will ask for a surcharge to change things like skin tone once the drawing is in the late stages of completion, while others will do it for free. Unless it was a fully rendered piece with complex shading, there is very, very few who would say no to changing the skin tone. And something like this, which is predominantly cell shaded, changing the skin tone will be very easy." So the final consensus for this is 100% AI. Here we have another one. This one says, "Is this shirt I bought AI?" And it is of a cat that looks like a dino standing in the middle of the Japanese wave. And man, it's a funny concept, but already there's a lot of things that look really odd and suspicious. The eyes, is this a fang or kind of drool in the cat's mouth? The wave having little bits of red in the actual like foam of the wave itself, which is a bit odd. And then finally, cat paws looking like this. There are 4 beans. And then the little big one down here. This one, there's 5. There, again, disclaimer, there's a fringe case where some cats have thumbs and they have like a little extra one and it's so cute, but this doesn't look like that's the case because the thumb is placed actually a little bit to the side. It literally looks like a thumb. This just looks like somebody doesn't know how many little fingers a cat has. Also, on a side note, this looks so much like my cat. Oh, if he ever comes in here, I'll show you. The comments say 100% AI. OP says, wait, how can you tell? And they respond, perspective around the mouth makes no sense, right eye is wonky, patterning in the waves is all over the place, not artistic decisions made by a human. And somebody adds also 2 different art styles. My assumption is whomever did this had one which had a Godzilla, then inlaid it with a cat over the top. And another person says, look at the mouth fang section. It's AI. And OP says, shite. So the consensus is 100% AI. Next up, this one cracked me up. Okay, so this is actually a text convo. And OP writes, paranoid or not, the M dash is going to sketch me out every time now. And it says, hey y'all, long-time lurker, first-time poster, going on a first date with a man much older. Is he using ChatGPT to text me, or is that just how he is? The M dash is throwing me off. It could just be his age, but I'm not so sure. Is there anything about this that screams AI? Or am I just being paranoid? Or third answer, he's a creep. Okay, these are so funny. The date says, hey, it's me here. I was thinking about this bar at around 7 Friday. M dash. Great drinks and small plates right on the canal. Sounds good? OP says, hey, awesome, I love it. And the date says, great. This will be my first time there. I've heard good things. Now the real question, are you a red wine girl or should I prepare for you to surprise me? OP says, prepare to be surprised. And he says, dangerous answer. Now I feel like I should let you order first and judge your taste. OP says, I'm not fancy or anything, I just like a good sparkling wine. And the date says, sparkling wine is a solid choice. Now I'm curious, ... Are you a Prosecco on a patio type or a champagne and trouble type? Which also I want to add, they italicize that. Like Prosecco on a patio and champagne and trouble, they italicize that. And OP says, depends on the day. And the date says, I like that answer. Keeps things interesting. I guess I'll find out which version of you shows up. Guys, this... Okay, just personally, I'm gonna be honest. Personally, if I was going on a date with a first-time person and this is how they're texting me... Oh my god, it sounds so scripted. It sounds like the lines of like a bad rom-com or something. I don't know, like this would put me off. It reads like ChatGPT, it really does. And I'm not saying because of the M dashes, again, right? As an M dash lover, I hate how ChatGPT co-opted M dashes because I feel like I can never type it again without people accusing me of using ChatGPT. But cadence of what is written that is odd because it's like affirmation that is slightly flirtatious and then a pause, like a gap, you know, the ... the M dash, etc. And then another statement to continue the conversation. Like that pacing is just odd. Like every single response is like something mildly flirtatious and reaffirming and then pause with an M dash or ... and then more stuff after. That's just, oh my god. The top comment says, I would say all the messages are AI except for the last one, which has an incorrectly formatted dash and no period, which AI simply doesn't allow. To me, it's the awkward attempts at jokes and wittiness. Sounds like a corporation trying to act human. And another person says, I'm a big user of the N dash because it's less effort than an M dash. And this guy's going from M dash to N dash is sending me. Another comment says, AI always tries too hard to be witty. A regular person usually tries once or twice per convo, but AI usually tries in every single response. That is it. That is exactly, okay, that is what I was trying to say. It's like the pacing and everything and that awkward flirtation, like joke, that's just not how regular people talk. It just isn't. Maybe like the rare one-off person that's now like crashing out in their room because everyone's blaming them for talking like ChatGPT, but that's genuinely how they talk. A commenter responds, to me, the biggest tell is the italics and the follow-up questions. I have never once seen a person use italics in a text. I don't even know if you can send italic text without copying it from another place. I tried before, probably in an update, but I still don't buy that people use it in this way. Another person says, this is so lazy. 100% of this is AI. ChatGPT loves those follow-up questions. And another person responds, and the italicized portion was the final straw for me. So what do you guys think? The subreddit did not come to a consensus as to whether this is AI or not, but I just think the way the typing cadence of whomever this date is so odd and suspicious, and the witty jokes in every single line. But also that just brings up another question of like in modern dating, isn't the whole point of dating to try to find your person, your match? You're not dating ChatGPT, right? So like if you want to find a true match, a true connection for yourself, wouldn't you want to, I don't know, talk to your date and not feed everything through ChatGPT? Unless that would bring up the next question of like, okay, so then maybe you think you're not appealing or witty enough in conversation to try to win a date over so that you would then rely on ChatGPT, then that would bring me to prompt with the final question of why don't we work on our personality instead of feeding everything into ChatGPT. Next up, we have this post that reads, AI or poorly rendered, possibly traced work. And they write, so I have this person in my DMs pushing me to purchase a commission even after saying no. I feel like some of this is AI and I don't want to place a warning for others if I'm wrong, because it definitely feels scammy and they message me repeatedly. I am also an artist, so art accounts interacting with me isn't abnormal, but the vibes were rancid here. What do you all think? All art is from the same page, and the DM exchange for reference of what I'm talking about. I am fairly certain the first and second are AI, and the third might be genuine. This is the very first post, which, okay. There's already a lot of oddities happening here in this piece. One, we have a very different art style from the head to the body, which is interesting, could definitely maybe be an artistic choice. The way they're holding the shield, though, is odd. You would have to hold the shield like completely inward like this to have it turn in this way. Not to mention, again, we have a vast difference in rendering style and ability on parts of the body versus others. Like the way the armor is rendered is super realistic, but then look at the hand that's holding the spear. Really, really different in quality. Like the hand isn't even, again, angled correctly with the knuckles to hold the spear in that way without the spear going through like some fingers. And then we have some more oddities, like this little seaweed stuck to the leg, and then this on the leg and also wrapping onto the spear. The next post, another one, which now we have a super different art style of a woman with like mech arms. The rendering for this is completely different than the other rendering style. Not to mention that we have a AI photograph of tanks in the background and war. The reason I suspect the background image is AI is all these poles on this building are not lined up evenly at all. And the third drawing, in another completely different art style, that it does not look the same as the prior two images. A big red flag is if it looks like it's drawn by three completely different people, it might be traced or drawn by different people, or some are AI generated and some are not. And this is the convo where OP says that they don't have money for commissions, and the artist says, actually, I'm struggling college life as an overseas student, and thing got tight for me. That's why I ask and looking for work. OP again says no and says that they're also a college student struggling. And the artist says, but I'm out of clients. I need your support. I'll draw anything for you. And I'm sure you will love it when you give me a chance. The top comment says, AI or not, don't trust people who push you into commissions. That's not how the market works. We don't go annoy people. People have to come request something from us. If it doesn't follow this order, then it's most probably a scam. And I wouldn't pay not even $5 for that drawing. Somebody says, that's what I told them. I was hoping it was just a younger or newer artist and tried to be nice at first. That's why I said I would share a properly set up commission sheet. Another person says, this looks AI as hell, especially the first one. Really bad hand placement on the weapon and the shield. And another person replies, the first one is definitely AI, but the other two are 100% just badly traced. And you can tell because the art style is not only completely different, but the traced ones are poorly done. You can tell where they messed up on tangent lines. And somebody is highlighting the weird inconsistencies, like here with the armor or the knee bend here on the armor and the foot of the armor. And the consensus for this was 90% sure AI. So we have another post that says, is this AI? I'm having a dollhouse made for my daughter's birthday, but the work in progress provided doesn't look real. The glue bottles are unreadable and gibberish. This one, there's a lot to break down here. Okay, so we have the woodworking of the dollhouse. Now, I don't know the requirements of the dollhouse, what was asked or put in for the criteria for the build. A lot of this looks suspicious. One is the lattice work here. This is probably the most dead giveaway because this is just really odd with the layering of the wood pieces. Because if you think about it, right, wood is not flat like paper. You can't really weave it in and out. Like it has to stack in a way that makes sense physics-wise, right? We have this piece of wood, this one here, looks like it's supposed to be flat, but then as it comes down, it looks like it turns. And then we have this piece here. So it's going under all of these lattices, but then it somehow goes over this beam. And then this one goes over this beam, but then under this one. But they somehow attach at the same point to this beam. Like this beam should not be attached to this one if this one can attach. Do you know what I mean? Like, because one is on top of the other. That means one should be lower. And then, yeah, the biggest one is this piece of wood that looks like it's an independent piece of wood, but it just melts into this piece of wood that's here. Not to mention, again, the glue. This maybe could be Russian, but the words on the glue bottle, it's definitely not English. So if this person commissioned a woodworker in an English-speaking country, maybe they outsourced their glue, but That's a bit odd. I've done a little bit of woodworking. Don't know what that is. Maybe it's a tool that I don't know or have never seen before. If you guys know what this is, I'd love to know. I mean, obviously all these other tools, it makes sense. We've got chisels, saws, hammers, but this? And then the final one is here. This beam here. What is this? Because there's like a divot or a cut of some sort. It looks like this wood panel is taller than this other wood panel, but that's not possible because they both attach to this at the same height to the wall. And again, is the asymmetry of the wood house, because like, again, maybe it was in the commission, right? But here, the edge of the roofing juts out maybe 1 millimeter from the wall on this side. But here, the entire beam is on the other side of the wall. So that would mean that the roofing sticks out a couple millimeters more on the right than the left. And this is not by human error, right? Because it will happen. You'll be a little bit off sometimes. This one is simply the beam is just completely on the other side. If it wasn't a request, that's an odd choice. The top comment says, very AI suspect. The design of the glue bottles looks like a mix between Gorilla Wood Glue and Titebond Wood Glue, and the letters are indeed gibberish. Also, if this is somebody who organized their tools so neatly, and so it's not just a messy person, why is there a handful of random unmatched screws and bolts on the table when it doesn't look like any screws and bolts are used in this project? And that one bolt in front, why is the head a 45-degree angle to the rest of it? And if you look at the collection of chisels hanging on the board, they seem to stop where the house starts. You should be able to see the blade of the chisels behind the slats of the roof, but you don't. A bunch of those bolts also have no threading, but also no points, so they're also not nails. Another person writes, there are wood shavings in places that would never have wood shavings. All those things hanging on pegboards, yet no pegs. Another person adds, and on a more practical note, that wood is way too thick for a dollhouse. That would be heavy as hell and totally unneeded. And another person adds, not to mention parts of the central roof awning are just kind of floating off the central spine of the house without support. Or if you were to add a facade to the building, it would have a weird inset face and weird bang-like roof jutting out on the sides. Or that for a dollhouse, it lacks windows or a good place to put a front door, or doors between rooms. Another person adds, the dollhouse roof is also uneven. There are 3 rafters on the left but 2 on the right, which makes no sense unless it's specifically asked, since it should be uniform and any woodworker worth his craft would know that would look off. The rafters in the back also look very strange, with the right half attaching on the inside, but the left half appears to attach on the outside. There's also a piece of wood attached to the dormer on the right side that looks like it's parallel, but somehow goes to the back of the dormer. The off-cuttings on the table also don't match any of the pieces used in the structure. There is no wood of that width, and these off-cuttings are all different sizes. I would ask for a photo from the back and the top. Another person adds, people are talking about the rafters, but I haven't read anybody saying, why are there rafters? This is not an architectural model. They didn't bother to cut out windows, but they've bothered to make rafters on the roof. No one would do this. It's not how you make a dollhouse. The roof of a dollhouse isn't built like this. It's AI. And yeah, people are screenshotting the sorcery that's happening over here with the roof. And somebody says, yep, the Winchester mystery roof framing is really spectacular. There was no consensus for this one. So what are your thoughts? My suspect, most definitely AI. And this final one that I thought was so funny. This one went viral. 60,000 upvotes. And it reads, ice fishing photo. My husband took the dog ice fishing today. I told him the fish didn't look real, as well as the tools, and even the dog. Like, he added everything in. And if you take a look at the photo, this tripped me up when I saw this on my phone, because I was just scrolling right on my phone, because it literally looks like everything was photoshopped into this image. It looks like somebody photoshopped all the fish, they photoshopped the dog, the gloves, everything. Like, this doesn't look real. And somebody says, the lighting is so weird that it absolutely looks like he added a handful of PNG fish. Somebody says, this is the fakest real photo I've seen and I love it. And somebody says, real. It looks odd because the ice is refracting so much light from the sun, so everything is lit from the bottom up. Somebody says, I agree, real. Fish look real, dog looks real, gloves look real, nothing in this image looks AI generated. If AI could make fish this realistic, that would be scary. And then this commenter adds, edit. I get it, you can use AI to make a roughly fish-shaped object. You don't have to keep sending me links to blurry AI fish you rendered. Another person says, what's hilarious about the fish is that there are at least 3 pairs that are in almost the same position, kind of like a bad Photoshop where somebody pastes copies of the same thing. The pairs of fish have minor differences about them though that prove they weren't duplicated. And they add, edit, now I've been looking at it too long and see 6 pairs of duplicates. So very strange. And yeah, like this one, they all look duplicated. I know what they mean, right? Like, it just looks too funny, but it's actually a real photo. that just looks super fake. So I just wanted to end this video on that note because this was a photo that like cracked me up so bad. So what are your thoughts on everything in here? What are your thoughts on this last photo? Like, do you have a picture that just kind of looks like it blows your mind physics wise and that it looks like it's fake? Because this is too hilarious. So anyways, if you liked this video, I appreciate it. If you like and subscribe, don't forget to check me out on Etsy. I have digital art there for streamers and creators. I also have a coffee with free resources like a free sponsorship guide, and I stream on Twitch 3 days a week, Mondays and Saturdays at 6 p.m. and Thursdays at 7:30. So I'll be catch y'all there or in another video. Peace.